In his 40 years at Waystation 7, Security Officer Krell had seen it all. He had caught smugglers hiding guns in containers of baby formula. He had found drugs that were against the law sewn into stuffed animals. He even found a gang that was smuggling endangered animals inside books that had been cut open. He had been working at the busiest immigration checkpoint in the galaxy for 40 years and had seen thousands of people come and go. Nothing surprised him anymore. Until now. The girl who set off all the alarms in the building looked like she was about 10. Her brown hair was messy and pulled back into a ponytail. She wore old jeans with grass stains on the knees. Her shoes weren't tied. She held a purple backpack against her chest as if it held the secrets of the universe. The transit papers said her name was Beth. Beth Williams. Going from Earth to Mars colony by yourself. That's not strange at all. A lot of kids went from one colony to another for school trips or to see family. The red lights flashing on every security monitor at the checkpoint were strange. Voss, Krell's partner, ran over, his scales pale with fear. Did you look at the readings? Level 5 biological danger. Living things that aren't registered. Possible breach of quarantine. This is the most serious level of alert we have. Krell's stomach dropped. Level 5 meant very dangerous. It meant the kind of creature that could destroy whole ecosystems if it got out of control. The last time they had seen a level 5 alert, it was a terrorist trying to get weaponized bacteria onto a cruise ship. But this was a kid. A little kid with shoes that aren't tied. Krell said, isolate her right away. Full contamination protocols. Get out of the way. Within seconds, security drones flew down from the ceiling. Force fields snapped into place, blocking off the main checkpoint from the rest of the station. People who were traveling pushed against the barriers to see what was going on. Parents held their kids close. Someone started to record on their phone or other communication device. Beth didn't run away. She didn't yell. She was standing in the middle of the empty checkpoint, holding her backpack and looking more sad than scared. Krell and Voss came up to her in full hazard suits. The other security guards stood by the observation windows above and watched through reinforced glass. This was the kind of thing that could end a career. People could die if they didn't handle a real biological threat correctly. It was possible for whole colonies to get sick. They took Beth into a clean, white room with only a metal table and 3 chairs. The walls were made to stand up to explosions. The air filter could get rid of most known toxins in 30 seconds. If something went wrong in here, the room would close up and fill with gas that killed germs. Beth sat in the smallest chair. She held her backpack in her lap. Her hands shook a little, but her face stayed calm. Too calm for a kid in this situation. Krell had talked to hundreds of people who smuggled. He knew what guilt looked like. The looks of worry. The talking too much. The complicated lies. This girl didn't show any of those signs. She just looked worn out. Beth, Krell said softly, trying to keep his voice steady over the suit's communication system. Please tell me what's in your backpack. Charlie is his name, she said softly. Voss and Krell looked at each other. A name. She had named everything in that backpack. Who is Charlie? Krell asked. He has a cold. I'm taking him to see Dr. Peterson on Mars. She is the only one who can help him. Krell opened his datapad and looked for something. Dr. Amanda Peterson. Xenobiologist who studies how Earth species adapt. Wrote 17 papers about moving organisms between planets. Real credentials. But that didn't explain the alarms. Beth, please open your backpack and let me see Charlie. Slowly. Don't move too quickly. Tears filled the girl's eyes. You're going to hurt him. I promise we won't hurt anyone. But I need to know what's making our security systems go off. Can you do that for me? Beth thought about it for a long time. Then she slowly opened the zipper on her backpack. The noise was so loud that it seemed impossible in the quiet room. She reached in and took out a glass jar. The kind of people who used to keep vegetables fresh. Someone had used a nail to make holes in the metal lid. There was dirt, some leaves and a stick inside the jar. There was a big green caterpillar crawling across the stick. It had to be about 3 inches long. There were dozens of tiny legs moving along its segmented body. It had 2 little antennae that moved around on its head. Voss fell back and his hand flew to his sidearm. Thank the stars, it's an insect from Earth. Krell felt like ice was running through his veins. His datapad started flashing emergency protocols right away. In the whole galaxy, insects from Earth were considered Class 3 biological hazards. After the beetle incident of 2089, when a single type of imported beetle wiped out all of Kepler 442b's farms, all governments put in place strict quarantine rules. If you moved Earth bugs from one planet to another, you could get at least 20 years in prison. For a good reason. These creatures may look harmless, but they can quickly reproduce, adapt to new environments, and destroy ecosystems that don't have natural defenses against them. Beth, Krell said slowly. Do you know what you're carrying? He's just a worm. Charlie is his name. This is an organism that is in quarantine. Without the right containment and permission, it's against the law to take it off Earth. Very illegal. Beth's tears fell more. But he's dying. Please. You don't get it. I found him on my school playground 3 months ago. A few boys were stepping on him. They thought it was funny. I rescued him and brought him home. I read everything I could find about how to care for him. Every day I gave him fresh leaves to eat. I cleaned his jar. He was doing so well. Her voice broke. Then 2 weeks ago he stopped eating. He just sits there and hardly moves. He's turning gray. I took him to every vet on Earth. Everyone said the same thing. Infection by a parasite. Too far along to treat. He's going to die. Voss was already looking up the laws. Krell, the punishment for this is very bad. We need to take the organism away right away and keep her in jail until her trial. There's no discretion in the law. But Krell couldn't stop looking at the girl's face. At the real pain there. At the way she held that jar like it contained something precious beyond measure. He asked, "How did you find Dr. Peterson?" I looked through every database I could get to. She wrote this essay about diseases that affect insects on Earth. She said she might be able to help if I could get Charlie to her lab. But my mom couldn't afford the trip. So I used all my birthday money. I told Mom I was going to school. I've been traveling for 4 days. You snuck through 3 star systems for a caterpillar? Beth said with anger. He's not just a caterpillar. He's Charlie. And he is counting on me. Before Krell could respond, Commander Thax's voice boomed through the room speakers. Officer Krell, take that thing away right now and burn it. Keep the child in custody. This is the end of this. Beth's hands tightened around the jar. At that moment, Krell saw something in her eyes that scared him more than any biological threat. He saw the same look his daughter had given him 20 years ago when the doctors told him there was nothing more they could do. Krell raised one clawed hand to the speaker, telling Commander Thax to wait. He knew he was going too far, but there was something about this situation that didn't sit right with him. He had dealt with real criminals before. This wasn't one of them. Beth, he said softly, tell me about Charlie. From the start. The girl took a shaky breath and used the back of her hand to wipe her eyes. It happened 3 months ago. The 14th of September. I remember because it was the worst day of my life up to that point. She looked down at the jar in her lap. The caterpillar inside hardly moved. It was the day my dad died. Exactly 1 year. I didn't want to go to school, but Mom had to work a double shift at the hospital. I sat by myself under the oak tree where I always sit during recess. That's when I heard them laugh. Krell looked closely at her face. It seemed like every part of her story was true. Uncooked. There were 4 boys in 6th grade. They found Charlie on the sidewalk and thought it would be fun to hurt him. They were stepping on him one at a time, but not hard enough to kill him. Just enough to hurt him. They wanted to know how long he could live. Voss moved around uncomfortably next to Krell. It was clear that he was uncomfortable even in the hazard suit. I ran over and told them to stop. They made fun of me. They called me names. One of them pushed me down. But I grabbed Charlie and ran while I was on the ground. I didn't stop running until I got home. Beth's voice got quieter. He was in bad shape. His body was crushed in half. He wasn't moving at all. I thought he was dead. But then I saw that one of his legs was moving. Just barely. And I thought, maybe I can help him. She looked up at Krell with eyes that looked like they belonged to a woman who was much older than her. Do you know what it's like to see something in pain and know you're the only one who cares enough to help? Krell's throat got tight. Yes. He knew exactly how that felt. I spent 6 hours that night looking up how to take care of caterpillars. I learned what kind of animal he was. Danaus plexippus. Caterpillar of the monarch butterfly. I learned what he ate. Only milkweed leaves. I learned how to make the right space for him. Everything, temperature, humidity, and more. Beth smiled a little, which was the first smile Krell had seen from her. My mom came home at midnight and saw me in the garage getting his home ready. She was tired from work, but she still helped me. She took me to 3 different places before we found milkweed plants. We took them home and put them in pots so Charlie would always have fresh food. For 2 months he got better. He got stronger every day. He got bigger. His colors got brighter. He ate a lot. When I got home from school, the first thing I did was check on him. I would talk to him while I worked on my homework. I know that sounds dumb. He's just a bug. But after my dad died, everyone at school acted differently around me. Like I was hurt. It was like they didn't know what to say to me. Her voice got so low that it was almost a whisper. Charlie didn't have to say anything. He was just there. And in some way that was enough. Krell leaned forward, completely engrossed in her story. He could hear other officers gathering at the observation window behind him. By now, the whole station was probably watching this. Then, 2 weeks ago, everything changed. When I got home from school, Charlie wasn't moving. The new leaves I had given him that morning were still there. His skin color looked off. Grayish. Boring. I thought he might be about to make his chrysalis. That's the cocoon they make before they become butterflies. But my research said it was too soon. Something was wrong. Beth's hands shook as she held the jar. Mom took me to the vet the next day. Over the course of 3 days we saw 4 different vets. They all said the same thing. Infection with a parasite. Caterpillars sometimes do this. Small living things get inside them and eat them from the inside out. There is no cure. They told him he might only have a week left. They said the best thing to do would be to freeze him. That it wouldn't hurt. She was crying now. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't just let him go. So I kept looking. I stayed up all night reading research papers that I didn't really get. Searching for something. Any hope. Krell said, "That's when you found Dr. Peterson." Beth nodded with excitement. She wrote this paper about how parasites infect insects on Earth. She had successfully treated 3 cases with a new method. I sent her a message without expecting anything in return. But she answered the same day. She said she could help Charlie, but I had to take him to her lab on Mars. She said that the tools she needed were too specialized to move. Voss opened Dr. Peterson's file on his datapad. Her lab is real. In the field of xenobiology she has done cutting-edge work. But Krell, even if she means well, the law is clear. Moving bugs from Earth. I know the law, Beth said, cutting him off. Her voice was suddenly strong. I read every word of it. I know that what I'm doing is against the law. I know that I could go to jail. But what was I supposed to do? Let Charlie die because some dumb rule says bugs are dangerous? She stood up, still carefully holding the jar. You want to know what's really in my bag? Hope. That's what's inside. The hope that I can save something small and weak, maybe. The hope that it matters to care about things even when people tell you you're stupid for doing so. Beth's voice got louder. My dad died in a hospital bed, surrounded by machines, rules, and procedures. The doctors did everything by the book. They did everything by the rules. And he still died. By yourself. Afraid. In pain. Because sometimes following the rules means forgetting why they are there in the first place. Everyone in the room stopped talking. Even Commander Thax's constant messages had stopped. Beth said firmly, I won't let Charlie die alone like my dad did. I won't let him die scared and in pain with no one who cares. Fine if that makes me a criminal. But at least I'll know I gave it my all. At least I'll know that something small and weak meant something to someone. She sat back down and carefully set the jar on the metal table that was between them. Krell could see the caterpillar through the glass. It hardly moved. It used to be a bright green color, but now it's a sickly gray. It was going to die. That was clear to everyone. And this kid had traveled through 3 star systems to save it. Voss leaned in close to Krell and said, What are we going to do? We're breaking direct orders if we let her go. She'll never forgive us if we take the organism away. And if that thing dies while we have it? Krell looked at the caterpillar that was dying. At the girl who put everything on the line to save it. In a sterile white room with a metal table, there is now an impossible choice. His phone made a crackling noise. Commander Thax's voice was very cold. Officer Krell, I'm keeping an eye on this whole conversation. You have exactly 1 minute to take that organism and hold the child. You could also go to a detention cell with her. Choose now. Krell looked at the jar on the table. 1 minute. He only had that much time to make a choice that could end his career or follow him for the rest of his life. He thought about his daughter. Mir. The genetic disease started to show signs when she was 7. The doctors had tried everything they could think of. All of the treatments. Each experimental procedure. They had followed all of the rules perfectly. And she died anyway in a cold hospital room with machines hooked up to her. Krell held her small hand and lied to her that everything would be fine. That was 2 decades ago. He had been working nonstop since then. Rules. Laws. Guidelines. They were okay. They were clear. They never told him to feel anything. Up until now. Krell, Voss whispered quickly. 45 seconds. What are we up to? Beth looked up at him with those eyes that were too sad to be true. She wasn't begging. She wasn't begging. She had already accepted what was going to happen. That made it worse in some way. Krell's hand went to his communicator. He could stop this right now. Do what you're told. Take the caterpillar away. Hold the girl. Fill out the forms. He could go home tonight knowing he had done his job well. And for the rest of his life, he would know that he had chosen rules over kindness. His fingers stopped moving. No, he said in a low voice. The words seemed to bounce around the clean room. Voss stopped moving. What did you just say? I said no. Krell's voice was louder now. I'm not taking that jar away from you. I'm not holding this child. The communicator burst into life with Commander Thax's voice. Officer Krell, you are directly disobeying a legal order. I am letting you go right away. Security team, go into that room and finish taking things. Krell could see the security team getting ready through the observation window. 6 officers in full tactical gear. They were getting ready to break into the room. Beth took the jar and held it close to her chest. Please don't take him. Please. Voss got in the way of Beth and the door. Krell was shocked and stared at his partner. Voss, what are you up to? Something I should have done a long time ago. Voss's voice was full of emotion. My brother died during the Cygnus plague. Quarantine for medical reasons. Protocols for level 7. I couldn't see him. I couldn't hold his hand. Could not say goodbye. He died alone in a locked room because the rules said his area was dirty. Voss turned to look at the observation window where Commander Thax was watching. I did what those rules said. I had faith in the system. And for 23 years I've remembered my brother calling for me while I stood outside a locked door doing nothing. He broke down. I won't do anything again. Not for a caterpillar. Not for kids. Not for anyone. The team in charge of security got to the door. The lock mechanism beeped, letting you know it was ready to unlock. Then something that wasn't planned happened. The main security officer stopped. Captain Wells was her name. She had been at Waystation 7 for 15 years. When she first joined, Krell trained her himself. Commander Thax, Captain Wells said in a slow voice. The door mechanism isn't working for me. It looks like it's not working right. It could take a few minutes to override. The communicator was full of anger. Captain Wells, that door is working just fine. From here I can see the diagnostics. Yes, sir. But I'm the officer on the ground and I'm saying that something is wrong. Before we go in we'll need to do a full safety check. It is required by protocol. Krell's eyes got bigger. Captain Wells was not telling the truth. On purpose. She was giving them more time. More officers were coming together through the observation window. A lot of them. People who work at the station. Workers who do maintenance. Even some people who weren't soldiers were at the checkpoint when the alarms went off. They pushed against the glass and watched. Someone in the crowd held up a communication device that was clearly recording everything. The feed was probably spreading to every network in the system in just a few seconds. Voss pulled out his datapad and started typing quickly. We need a plan if we're going to do this. A shuttle ride to Dr. Peterson's lab takes 6 hours. We need to properly contain it. We need permission. Krell said, we need a miracle. He got a call on his communicator. Not from Commander Thax. From the outside. He agreed to it. A woman's face showed up on the screen. She was in her 50s, had dark hair with gray streaks in it, and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. This is Dr. Peterson. I've been keeping an eye on the situation through news feeds. Is this Officer Krell? Yes. How did you? 17 different platforms are showing your standoff with Commander Thax live right now. There are 6 million people watching. That number goes up every second. Dr. Peterson's face showed that he was in a hurry. I can help. There is a specialist in containment at your station. Dr. Helen Brennan. She has the tools to make a level 5 quarantine transport pod. I can treat Charlie in my lab without breaking the core contamination rules if she can get him into that pod. Krell felt a glimmer of hope. Is that legal? Yes, in a way. The quarantine laws say that biological materials can't be transported without being contained. But transporting things in a safe way is a gray area. No one has ever tried it in court, so it has never been tested. But the law doesn't say you can't do it. Voss looked away from his datapad. She's right. I'm looking at the law right now. We might have a case if we can get proper containment. The door made a noise again. The voice of Captain Wells came through. Commander, I'm sorry, but the problem is worse than I thought. We need to clear this hallway and bring in special tools. A loud roar of anger came from Commander Thax. Captain Wells, you are no longer on duty. You all feel better now. I'm getting the military police on the phone. But before he could do what he said he would, someone else spoke up. This one had real power behind it. Commander Thax, this is Morrison, the Galactic Council's Secretary General. Stand down right away. Everyone in the room stopped moving. The Secretary General never got involved in security issues in the area. This had never happened before. Sir, Thax stammered. I'm just following the rules for quarantine that I have to. I know the rules, Commander. I also know that my office is getting about 12 million messages per minute right now asking us to help this child. That number is going up faster. This problem has become a galactic event. A break. Morrison went on, his voice tired. Commander, I've been in politics for 40 years. I can tell when a fight is going to lose. Find a way to solve the problem that doesn't involve putting a child through trauma on live video. That's an order. The link was broken. Commander Thax showed up at the window to watch. His face was purple with anger, but he kept his voice calm. Someone is getting in touch with Dr. Brennan. She'll bring the tools to keep it safe. Officer Krell, you have one chance to get this right. If that organism gets out of its cage and threatens this station or Mars colony in any way, everyone in that room will be charged with a crime. Do you understand? Sir, it's crystal clear. Thax got close to the glass. This doesn't make a difference. You didn't follow a direct order. Your career is over. Krell looked down at Beth, who was holding Charlie's jar and crying without making a sound. He thought about his child. Voss's brother is the subject. About all the times rules were more important than people. I know, sir, Krell said in a low voice. And I'd do it again. Dr. Helen Brennan showed up 20 minutes later with a case of specialized tools. She was short, had gray hair and steady hands. She knelt down next to Beth and smiled softly. Hey there. Hello, I'm Dr. Brennan. Can I see your friend? Beth's hands shook as she held out the jar. Dr. Brennan used a handheld scanner to look at Charlie through the glass. She looked serious. The infection has gotten worse. Very far along. His chances aren't good, even with treatment right away. There is a chance of survival of about 30%. And Beth, I need you to get this. The treatment will hurt him. It's going to hurt. She looked right into Beth's eyes. Are you ready for the fact that saving him might mean seeing him in pain? Beth's face turned white, but she didn't look away from Dr. Brennan's steady gaze. Will the treatment help him live? Yes, a chance. Not a promise. Then I want to give it a shot. Beth's voice hardly shook. Charlie was hurt when those boys hurt him. He felt bad when the infection first started. This pain is different from suffering for no reason if it might help him get better. Isn't it? Dr. Brennan's face softened. You're a brave kid. Okay. Let's put Charlie in the right place. She opened her equipment case and took out something that looked like a small, clear cube the size of a shoebox. The light made the material look strange, as if it wasn't quite solid. This is a unit for containing quantum fields. It makes a seal that keeps everything out. Nothing can get in. Nothing gets out. Not germs. Not viruses. Not even air molecules. Beth watched as Dr. Brennan carefully moved Charlie from the mason jar to the containment unit. The caterpillar didn't move much when it was moved. His gray body was almost still as he lay there on the fresh milkweed leaves that Dr. Brennan had put inside. How long has he been this way? While doing more scans, Dr. Brennan asked. 4 days. He used to get around a lot. He would look around in his jar. Get on the sticks. But now he just sits there. The scanner that Dr. Brennan used beeped a lot. She frowned when she saw the readings. The load of parasites is huge. I'm really shocked that he's still alive. This little guy is a tough guy. The crowd had gotten huge through the observation window. People who work at the station. People who were traveling and had missed their connections. Some stores even closed so their workers could watch. There were hundreds of faces pressed against the glass. There was a live feed set up by someone. A young woman held up her phone and streamed everything. The speaker system picked up her voice. This is Katie Chin reporting live from Waystation 7, where a 10-year-old girl's fight to save her dying caterpillar has stopped all immigration checks. In the last hour, more than 30 million people have watched the video. People all over the galaxy are waiting to see if Charlie lives. Voss took Krell to the side. This is more than we thought. Look at this. He held up his datapad to show a flood of messages coming in. Giving. People are sending money to help Beth pay for her trip. Costs of medical care. In 20 minutes, they've made 40,000 credits. Krell couldn't believe the numbers he saw. That's more than Beth's mom makes in a year. That's more than we make in a year, Voss said. And it's still going up. People are really affected by this story in some way. Captain Wells walked up to them with her tactical helmet under her arm. I have to say something. At first, I thought the alert meant we were dealing with a terrorist. Someone crazy is trying to use a biological weapon. But then I saw you talk to that girl, Krell. And I remembered why I wanted to be a security guard in the first place. She looked back at Beth, who was watching Dr. Brennan seal the unit that held the virus. It wasn't to make sure rules were followed. It was to keep people safe. Sometimes keeping people safe means keeping them safe from bad rules. Another officer came up. Then one more. Within minutes, a dozen security guards had surrounded Krell and Voss, all of them looking determined. Captain Wells said simply, "We stand with you. We're with you no matter what happens next." Krell's throat felt tight. He had always worked alone for the past 40 years. He kept his head down, did what they were told. He had no idea how lonely that had been until now. Dr. Brennan stood up and carefully held the sealed containment unit. "We're ready to go. But I have to be honest about something. It takes 6 hours to get to Mars. Charlie's health is very bad. He might not make it through the trip." Beth took a deep breath. "But he has a better chance there than he does here, right?" "Yes. I can't get to the equipment in Dr. Peterson's lab. Tools for surgery that are made just for working with tiny things. That's where it needs to happen if Charlie is going to live. Then we go to Mars." Beth made it sound like the easiest choice in the world. One more time, the speaker system crackled with Commander Thax's voice. "We're getting the transport shuttle ready. Officer Krell, since you seem set on ruining your career, you might as well take the child to Mars. Think of it as your last official duty." There was a long break. Then Thax added, almost with a sigh, "And Krell? Don't let that caterpillar die. If it dies after all this, I'll never hear the end of it." When they got there, the shuttle departure bay was full of people. News teams. People who work at the station. Families with kids. They stood in the hallways, silently watching Krell and Beth walk by. A few people were crying. Some people held up signs that said they were with them. A little boy, who couldn't have been more than 6, ran up to Beth and gave her a drawing. It had a green caterpillar with wings on it. The boy said shyly, "I hope Charlie feels better," before his mother pulled him back into the crowd. Beth held the drawing close to her chest and new tears streamed down her face. Voss stopped Krell at the boarding ramp as they were getting on the shuttle. "I'm going with you." "Voss, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Because I did what I was told and stayed outside that door. My brother died alone. I'm not going to do that again. Also, someone has to deal with the paperwork. And since I know you, you'll probably forget to file half of it." Krell smiled anyway. Dr. Brennan was already there, putting up cameras and other monitoring equipment around Charlie's containment unit. Dr. Peterson's voice came through the communication screen. She was calling from her lab on Mars. Dr. Peterson said, "I've been getting ready for you to come. My operating room is ready. I have put together a group of experts. As soon as you land, we'll start treatment." Beth's face turned white, but she kept looking at Dr. Brennan. "Will the treatment help him live?" "Yes. A chance. Not a sure thing." "Then I want to give it a shot." Beth's voice hardly shook. Charlie was hurt when those boys hurt him. He felt bad when the infection first started. If this pain might help him get better, it's not the same as suffering for no reason. Isn't that right? Dr. Brennan's face relaxed. "You're a brave kid. Okay. Let's put Charlie in the right place." She opened her equipment case and took out something that looked like a small, clear cube the size of a shoebox. The light made the material look strange, as if it wasn't quite solid. "This is a unit for containing quantum fields. It makes a seal that keeps everything out. Nothing can get in. Nothing gets out. Not germs. Not viruses. Not even air molecules." Beth watched as Dr. Brennan carefully moved Charlie from the mason jar to the containment unit. The caterpillar didn't move much when it was moved. His gray body was almost still as he lay there on the fresh milkweed leaves that Dr. Brennan had put inside. "How long has he been this way?" While doing more scans, Dr. Brennan asked. 4 days. He used to get around a lot. He would look around in his jar. Get on the sticks. But now he just sits there. The scanner that Dr. Brennan used beeped a lot. She frowned when she saw the readings. "The load of parasites is huge. I'm really shocked that he's still alive. This little guy is a tough guy." The crowd had gotten huge through the observation window. People who work at the station. People who were traveling and had missed their connections. Some stores even closed so their workers could watch. There were hundreds of faces pressed against the glass. There was a live feed set up by someone. A young woman held up her phone and streamed everything. The speaker system picked up her voice. "This is Katie Chin reporting live from Waystation 7, where a 10-year-old girl's fight to save her dying caterpillar has stopped all immigration checks. In the last hour, more than 30 million people have watched the video. People all over the galaxy are waiting to see if Charlie lives." Voss took Krell to the side. "This is more than we thought. Look at this." He held up his datapad to show a flood of messages coming in. Giving. People are sending money to help Beth pay for her trip. Costs of medical care. In 20 minutes they've made 40,000 credits. Krell couldn't believe the numbers he saw. That's more than Beth's mom makes in a year. That's more than we make in a year, Voss said. And it's still going up. People are really affected by this story in some way. Captain Wells walked up to them with her tactical helmet under her arm. I have to say something. At first, I thought the alert meant we were dealing with a terrorist. Someone crazy is trying to use a biological weapon. But then I saw you talk to that girl, Krell. And I remembered why I wanted to be a security guard in the first place. She looked back at Beth, who was watching Dr. Brennan seal the unit that held the virus. It wasn't to make sure rules were followed. It was to keep people safe. Sometimes keeping people safe means keeping them safe from bad rules. Another officer came up. Then one more. Within minutes, a dozen security guards had surrounded Krell and Voss, all of them looking determined. Captain Wells said simply, "We stand with you. We're with you no matter what happens next." Krell's throat felt tight. He had always worked alone for the past 40 years. He kept his head down, did what they were told. He had no idea how lonely that had been until now. Dr. Brennan stood up and carefully held the sealed containment unit. "We're ready to go. But I have to be honest about something. It takes 6 hours to get to Mars. Charlie's health is very bad. He might not make it through the trip." Beth took a deep breath. "But he has a better chance there than he does here, right?" "Yes. I can't get to the equipment in Dr. Peterson's lab. Tools for surgery that are made just for working with tiny things. That's where it needs to happen if Charlie is going to live. Then we go to Mars." Beth made it sound like the easiest choice in the world. One more time, the speaker system crackled with Commander Thax's voice. "We're getting the transport shuttle ready. Officer Krell, since you seem set on ruining your career, you might as well take the child to Mars. Think of it as your last official duty." There was a long break. Then Thax added, almost with a sigh, "And Krell? Don't let that caterpillar die. If it dies after all this, I'll never hear the end of it." When they got there, the shuttle departure bay was full of people. News teams. People who work at the station. Families with kids. They stood in the hallways, silently watching Krell and Beth walk by. A few people were crying. Some people held up signs that said they were with them. A little boy, who couldn't have been more than 6, ran up to Beth and gave her a drawing. It had a green caterpillar with wings on it. The boy said shyly, "I hope Charlie feels better," before his mother pulled him back into the crowd. Beth held the drawing close to her chest and new tears streamed down her face. Voss stopped Krell at the boarding ramp as they were getting on the shuttle. "I'm going with you." "Voss, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Because I did what I was told and stayed outside that door. My brother died alone. I'm not going to do that again. Also, someone has to deal with the paperwork. And since I know you, you'll probably forget to file half of it." Krell smiled anyway. Dr. Brennan was already there, putting up cameras and other monitoring equipment around Charlie's containment unit. Dr. Peterson's voice came through the communication screen. She was calling from her lab on Mars. Dr. Peterson said, "I've been getting ready for you to come. My operating room is ready. I have put together a group of experts. As soon as you land, we'll start treatment." She looked right at Beth through the screen. "I want you to know this. I've been studying insects for 30 years, and I've never seen anyone fight this hard to save one. No matter what happens, Charlie is lucky to have you." Beth couldn't say anything. She just nodded and wiped her eyes. The engines of the shuttle started to hum. Krell could see the people in the departure bay through the viewport. A lot of people are watching. Waiting. Wishing. The communication system picked up Captain Wells's voice. "Shuttle 7, you can leave now. Good luck. Everyone here is pulling for you." Krell looked back at Waystation 7 getting smaller behind them as the shuttle took off. For 40 years he had worked there. He had lived it his whole life. His job. And he had just thrown it all away for a caterpillar that was about to die. But as he watched Beth softly press her hand against the containment unit and whisper words of encouragement to Charlie through the clear wall, Krell had a thought. He felt like he had done something important for the first time in 20 years, since the day his daughter died. The trip to Mars had begun. 6 hours to travel millions of miles. 6 hours to save a life that most people in the galaxy thought was worthless. 6 hours to show that the little things can be the most important. Beth's eyes were red and swollen as she looked up at Krell. "Thanks. For trusting me. For helping Charlie out. For putting everything on the line." Krell sat down next to her. "Beth, do you want to know the truth? You made me remember something I had forgotten. There are rules to keep people safe. But when the rules hurt the things they're meant to protect, good people have to make tough choices. Are you afraid? Beth asked in a soft voice. About losing your job? Krell gave it some thought. Scared. My whole adult life I've been a security guard. I don't know how to be anything else. My dad used to tell me that sometimes the best thing to do is to start over. Your dad seems like he was a smart guy. He was. Beth turned around and looked at Charlie's containment unit. The caterpillar had not yet moved. I wish he could have met Charlie. The shuttle landed on Mars just as the sun was setting over Olympus Mons. The huge volcano cast long shadows over the colony's landing pad. Beth had only slept a little during the 6-hour trip. She had been talking to Charlie in a soft voice the whole time, with her hand pressed against his containment unit. A full medical team was waiting for Dr. Peterson at the landing pad. She was shorter than she'd appeared on the video screen, but her presence commanded immediate respect. The moment the shuttle doors opened, she was moving. How is he? Dr. Peterson took the containment unit from Dr. Brennan and asked. Vitals are weak but stable. He made the journey, which is more than I expected. Dr. Peterson examined the readouts on her portable scanner. Her face stayed carefully blank, but Krell could see that her jaw was getting tighter. She wasn't seeing anything good. Let's get him to the operating room right away. Beth, you'll need to wait in the observation room. I promise to take good care of him. Beth nodded but couldn't say anything. She had been brave for a long time, but now that they were finally there, it felt like everything was crashing down on her. Her legs shook. Krell caught her elbow, steadying her. The hospital was very modern. Gleaming white corridors. Advanced equipment humming quietly. They took Beth to a room with a big window that looked out over the operating room. She could see Dr. Peterson and her team getting ready through the strong glass. It took 7 hours for the surgery to be done. Beth stayed by the window the whole time. She stood there and watched every second, even when Voss told her to sit down and rest. Krell stayed with her the whole time. He didn't say anything. He stood there quietly, ready to help her if she needed it. Beth finally said something around the 3rd hour. When my dad was in the hospital, they wouldn't let me see him while he was having surgery. They said I was too young. That it would be too scary. So I would wait in the hallway outside and think about what was going on. Making up stories in my mind. Each one worse than the last. She put her hand on the glass. At least I can see now. I can know. At least it's real, even if it's scary. Dr. Peterson worked in the operating room with a huge magnification field. You could barely see Charlie's tiny body with your eyes, but the magnification showed every detail. The parasites had made cysts all over his digestive system. Dr. Peterson used laser tools so precise they could remove individual cells. 5 hours. Charlie's vital signs went down to a very low level. Beeping alarms. The doctors and nurses moved faster. Beth's breath got stuck in her throat. Krell's own heart was racing. Dr. Peterson, on the other hand, stayed calm. Her hands moved with complete confidence, making tiny changes. Charlie's vital signs slowly but surely got better. Hour 7. Dr. Peterson left the operating room. She said something to her team, but the sound in the observation room was off. Beth couldn't hear what was going on. She could only watch as they carefully moved Charlie to a recovery room. Finally, Dr. Peterson came out of the operating room. She took off her mask and her tired but real smile showed through. He did it. The operation went well. We got rid of all the cysts that were parasites. His vital signs are getting better. Beth's legs gave out completely. She fell into the chair behind her and cried with relief. He's still alive? Is he really alive? He's still alive. But Beth, I need you to know something. The next 48 hours are very important. His body has been through a lot of pain. He is weak. The infection was very bad. He's still in danger. But does he have a chance? He has a very good chance. Charlie, your friend, is very strong. I've never seen a caterpillar live through this bad of a parasite infection. He's a fighter. Dr. Peterson got down on one knee in front of Beth's chair. What you did was amazing. You moved a dying animal across 3 star systems. You used up all of your money. You could have gone to jail. You never stopped caring about him. Do you know how unusual that is? Beth cleaned her eyes. Everyone would have done the same thing. No, Dr. Peterson said softly. They wouldn't have. Most people would have walked right by Charlie on that playground without even looking. When the vet said there was no hope, most people would have given up. Most people wouldn't have cared enough to try. Beth stayed by Charlie's side for the next 2 days. The recovery chamber was in a special care unit where the temperature and humidity were kept just right. Beth could see Charlie slowly getting stronger through the clear walls. He moved on the second day. At first his legs just twitched a little. Then he raised his head. He was able to eat again by the third day. His color started to come back, and the sickly gray slowly faded away, leaving behind a bright green. The news that Charlie was getting better spread even faster than the first story. The donation fund that had begun to pay for Beth's bills had grown to more than 200,000 credits. People from all over the galaxy who didn't know each other had given. On the fourth day, Dr. Peterson called Beth into her office. "We need to talk about this cash. It's a lot more than what you need for travel and medical costs. Your mother and I have talked about some choices." She brought up a financial forecast on her screen. "You could pay for your whole education with this amount if you invest it wisely. College, school for graduates, all of it. You could also use it for anything else you need." Beth couldn't believe the numbers she saw. Did people do this for Charlie? They did it for both of you. People were moved by your story. They were reminded that kindness is important. That little acts of kindness can make a big difference. Something amazing happened on the 10th day. Charlie started to make his chrysalis. He clung to a small branch in his recovery chamber and began to spin the silk that would cover him while he changed. "This is a good sign," Dr. Peterson said, and Beth was amazed. "It means his body has healed enough for him to start changing. He'll turn into a butterfly in about 2 weeks. Beth put her hand on the chamber. "I wish I could be there to see it." "Who says you can't?" Dr. Peterson smiled. "Tomorrow your mother will be here. We have made arrangements for both of you to stay in colony housing for as long as you need, thanks to the donation fund." But Krell was the one who was most surprised. Beth was in the garden outside the medical facility on the 12th day of her stay on Mars. She was drawing pictures of Charlie in a notebook. "I have news," Krell said as he sat down next to her on the bench. "Commander Thax called me this morning. It looks like the Galactic Council has been getting so much pressure about our situation that they've ordered a full review of the quarantine rules." Beth looked up. "What does that mean?" "That means they're making exceptions for caring for others. People can now apply for special containment permits if they want to move an Earth organism for medical reasons. Because of you and Charlie." Krell's voice got quieter. "They've also chosen not to file charges against either of us. They're actually calling us heroes. Do you believe that? 2 people who broke the rules are being praised for it. Are you going to get your job back?" "Actually, I've been given a better offer. The council wants to set up a new department that will look at ethical exceptions to current rules. They want me to be in charge of it, to help other people who are in situations where the law and doing the right thing don't agree." Beth smiled, and it was the first real, open smile Krell had seen from her. "That's just right for you." "I thought so too. And what about Beth?" "Thanks for reminding me why there are rules in the first place. Not to boss people around but to keep them safe. And when rules stop keeping people safe, good people need to be brave enough to question them." Finally, the day came 2 weeks later. Beth stood in front of Charlie's chrysalis in the morning light. Everyone on Dr. Peterson's team had come to watch. Voss even stayed on Mars, saying he wanted to see how the story ended. The chrysalis started to break apart. A butterfly slowly and carefully came out. At first his wings were crumpled and wet, but as Beth watched in awe, they grew bigger. The orange and black patterns that are unique to monarch butterflies appeared. Charlie tried out his wings by stretching them. 1 time. 2 times. Putting them to the test. Dr. Peterson had made a special garden just for this. The first Earth butterfly sanctuary in the Mars colony. It took only 3 weeks to build, and all the money came from donations. Inside, milkweed plants grew in conditions that were carefully controlled. There were already other rescued caterpillars living there, and they were all getting the medical care they needed. Beth took Charlie's perch outside to the main garden of the sanctuary. The clear dome above led in the morning sun. She put out her hand and Charlie crawled onto it one last time. Beth whispered, "You are free now. You can fly to any place you want. You're not stuck in a jar anymore. You are no longer sick. You're free." For a long time Charlie sat on her finger. His antennae moved, feeling the air. Then out of nowhere he opened his wings and flew away. Beth watched him fly up, his orange wings shining against the sky of Mars. He flew around the garden once, then twice, and then he landed on a milkweed flower 20 feet away. Beth's face was wet with tears, but this time they were happy tears. Krell came up next to her. "You did it. You saved him." Beth said, "We saved him." Everyone. You, Voss, Dr. Peterson, Dr. Brennan, and Captain Wells. Everyone who thought that one small life was important. An officer came over with a datapad and looked sorry. "Officer Krell?" There is a problem at the immigration checkpoint. A young man is trying to move a hurt bird. He says he heard about Charlie's bird and thought there might be hope for his bird too. Krell looked at Beth, then at Charlie who was flying around the sanctuary. He thought about the 40 years he had spent blindly following rules. About his kid. About getting a second chance. Krell said, "Tell him I'll be right there." He looked at Beth. "Thanks, Beth. For carrying hope in your bag. For showing me that the little things can mean the most." 3 months later, the Earth Butterfly Sanctuary had grown to hold more than 300 rescued bugs. Every day, kids from all over Mars Colony came to learn about kindness and how important it is to protect even the smallest animals. Beth went back to Earth, but every week she video called the sanctuary to see how Charlie was doing. He did well in his new home and lived much longer than most monarch butterflies. Some people said it was because of the special care. Some people said it was because he was too stubborn to give up after fighting so hard to stay alive. But Beth knew what was true. Someone cared enough to try, and that's why Charlie lived. A 10-year-old girl had looked at a dying caterpillar and seen something worth fighting for when everyone else said he wasn't worth saving. And by doing that, she had taught an entire galaxy what people really keep in their backpacks. Not guns. No threats. But something much stronger and much more dangerous. Hope. Being kind. The strong refusal to let something small and weak suffer on its own. The things that change everything they touch.